Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics on Channels Television. I'm Millicent Walker. On the news this hour, police personnel and the Islamic Movement in Nigeria clash at the National Assembly. House of Representatives set up ad hoc committee to investigate ongoing crisis rocking the Edo State House of Assembly. And more perspectives on Senator Abo's travels in light of the Senate's standing rules. Welcome everyone to the program. We begin with the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, which continues its sitting today with judges at the tribunal entertaining petitions from two political parties, the Hope Democratic Party, HDP, and the People's Democratic Movement, PDM. Both parties are challenging the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari at the February 23rd presidential election. The HDP have been embroiled in legal representation issues before the tribunal dismissed an application by a faction of the Hope Democratic Party to withdraw the petition filed in the name of the party and its presidential candidate, Alberto Wuro. But today, the party will continue its argument seeking to get the tribunal to nullify President Buhari's election. On its part, the PDM and its presidential candidate are asking the tribunal to nullify President Buhari's election and order INEC to conduct a fresh poll. We have our correspondent joining us from the Petitions Tribunal in Abuja, Amaka Okafor, with the latest. Amaka.
The Presidential Election Tribunal resumed today in petition filed by the People's Democratic Movement and its presidential candidate, Pastor Abu Haminchi, to deliver the pre-trial report after parties had elected for days that they will use to pursue the petition in the main. But that was not to be, as the tribunal set aside that particular report to hear an application filed by the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, who also announced appearance on behalf of the party today, asking that his party be withdrawn as a party in the petition. But his application was objected to by the counsel to Pastor Abu Haminchi, who has been representing himself and the party in the case. According to them, that the national chairman of the party is a meddlesome interloper who waited until the case had gotten to where it had gotten for him to seek to remove the party as part of the petition. And so the counsel to the national chairman asked for time to reply to that objection. This was not objected to by the tribunal, who then set July 18th to hear that particular application and then decide whether the PDM will continue as a party in this suit or not. And so until then, we will not know whether the parties can go ahead with the hearing of the petition in the main, since there is an application saying that the PDM is no longer interested in pursuing its case against the president. Now, I did speak to the national chairman of the PDM, who said that his actions is in the interest of the nation and the party, and that issues that happened during the elections should be forgotten about so that the country can move forward. Back to you, Lagos.
Many thanks, Amaka Okafor, there with the latest. We'll continue to bring you updates from that proceedings as we get them. Members of the Islamic Movement in Nigeria, loyal to Sheikh Ibrahim el-Zakzaki, clashed with police at the National Assembly yesterday. The protesters who demanded the release of Sheikh el-Zakzaki stormed the National Assembly complex through the front gate by the three-armed zone. They were, however, prevented from gaining access into the second gate, which also serves as the main gate, by the police and other security agencies. SEC members reportedly destroyed and burnt vehicles in their path, damaged the windows at the gate. 2 policemen and a civilian were injured, rushed to various hospitals for treatment. The FCT Police Command confirmed that 9 policemen were injured while halting an attempt by members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria to invade the National Assembly. A statement from the police bureau of the command, DSP Anjuguri Manza, says the group, which initially pretended to be staging a peaceful procession, became violent and tried to force their way into the premises. They were, however, confronted by police operatives on the ground who used minimum force to disperse them. The statement adds that the sect members shot 2 police officers in the leg and then used clubs, stones to inflict injuries in 7 others. The injured policemen were taken to the hospital for treatment, and the FCT Police Command says those arrested will be dealt with in accordance with the law. And following that, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, ordered a 24-hour police surveillance in the Federal Capital Territory and its environs to forestall any breach of public security. And the security expert, Mr. Kabir Adamu, joins us from our Abuja studios as we look at the security implications of that attempted invasion at the National Assembly. We'd like to thank you for joining us at this time and ask, I mean, this is not the first time the movement they've made multiple attempts to enter the National Assembly. But what do you make of the latest move?
It appears to be an act of desperation by the group. A few days ago, an international media station interviewed their spokesperson, and he mentioned that Sheikh El-Zakzaki's son had been given access to the Sheikh, and he saw him in a very, deplorable condition, that his health was failing. Now, let's recall that last week, the group was at the National Assembly, and they met a couple of the principal officers of the National Assembly, and were promised by the National Assembly that they would look into their case and invite them for further discussion. So it appears that the attempt yesterday was an act of desperation, perhaps based on the report that the health of their leader, the Sheikh, is failing.
And indeed, that's the question. How much can the National Assembly wade in on that matter ongoing in court? I mean, there have been several court rules granting bail and several refusing bail, but there are also some who believe that the leader on bail would affect national security negatively, that is. Now, do you agree?
Well, the reality is we are in a democratic era, and rule of law is one of the tenets of democracy. Now, if a court has granted him on bail, and there's another court sitting in Kaduna over some charges against him, I think whatever the case is, rule of law should preside. If the government has a case against him, that should be presented to the court. If he's a threat to national security, then let the court decide that. My point is that rule of law must reign supreme. In this instance, if there is a court order that he should be granted bail, even if they are going to set conditions by the court for him to abide by, then I think that's what it should be. This kind of situation where occasionally we see the group protesting, people die, properties are destroyed, is not good in any way for the security of the country, especially for its internal security.
Also, this isn't the first group seeking audience at the National Assembly for various grievances, but unfortunately it did turn out violent. How do you think the National Assembly, the security, should proceed forward now?
Well, there has been a remarkable improvement in the security arrangement at the National Assembly, and specifically with regards to access control. However, there is room for improvement, especially on the access route. Who has the authority to grant access to persons coming into the National Assembly? Of course, it's a people's parliament, so people should be allowed access, but of course not in an orderly manner and for good business, if I'll use that language. So there is room for improvement, especially in the area of access control. I think electronic equipment that will give them an indication, by this I mean surveillance, when a mass gathering is approaching the National Assembly, there needs to be some element of preparedness. We didn't see that yesterday. Then definitely in terms of how you respond, even after there is the kind of chaos that we saw yesterday, I think there needs to be an improvement by the law enforcement agencies deployed at the National Assembly.
And finally, how much security concern do you see at the FCT? I mean, the police came out and said a 24-hour surveillance. Are there concerns for you? What have you noticed since this morning, for example?
Well, it will interest you that I'm just coming from the National Assembly, and everything is normal. Things have normalized. I've spoken to people who drove in from outside, the outskirts of Abuja into Abuja, and things are normal. Yeah, some have mentioned that they've seen military checkpoints, but perhaps that's just the surveillance that is expected when things like that happen. But things are going normally. We've returned to the status quo, as it were, before the incident of yesterday.
All right. We'd like to thank you so much, security expert Kabir Adamu, for joining us on the program.